Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 12 years now, we've been asking the Franchipreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. Well, we're meeting with Jim Hunter, the CEO of House Doctors. And known as the trusted home improvement service, House Doctors offers a myriad of services from drywall and gutter repair to kitchen and bathroom remodeling. The House Doctors team of insured, bonded, and uniformed handyman have a wide array of skill sets to tackle even the longest list of to-dos. We're going to talk to Jim about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 12 years now, we've been asking the Franchipreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. Well, we're meeting with Jim Hunter, the CEO of House Doctors. And known as the trusted home improvement service, House Doctors offers a myriad of services from drywall and gutter repair to kitchen and bathroom remodeling. Hi, Jim. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm good, Marty. How are you?
Great. It's great to have you back on the show, Jim. I don't know if you would remember this. I had to look back. It was last time I had you on the show, and it seems like yesterday. It was 10 years ago, if you can imagine. So the time has gone by fast, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of changes in the 10 years. But it's great to have the opportunity to talk to you again.
Thank you. This is my pleasure, Jim. You know, and a lot of exciting things have happened to House Doctors because I've been following you over the last decade. Maybe you could tell our listeners where you're calling from today, Jim.
Yeah, I'm calling from Cincinnati, and that's where our corporate office is, and we have franchisees now over the U.S.
You know, when I interviewed you 10 years ago, what impressed me most about you, Jim, was your background because, you know, you were once a franchisee. Maybe you could talk a little bit about, your background and how it led to your position as CEO of House Doctors.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not from Cincinnati, if you remember, and you can probably tell.
I still Scotland.
I still have that Scottish accent. So originally from Scotland, I had my corporate career with General Electric Corporation in the UK, and project manager, and wanted to do my own thing, become an entrepreneur. I started a quick copy franchise in Glasgow in Scotland, grew that for 10 consecutive years. So I had that experience as a franchisee before I then emigrated to Canada, and eventually coming down to the US.
I didn't realize this either, Jim. House Doctors, you guys are coming up on is it your 25th year anniversary? Yes,
House Doctors started originally as a handyman franchise, where the franchisees were handymen, and part of my new strategy when I came along and bought the company was to transition to a more executive model, where franchisees now don't swing the hammer, and like a lot of franchises, House Doctors has had its ups and downs and transitions over the years, and we're now in a very good place to grow and build our brand. But we have all that experience, that 25 years behind us as a foundation.
When last time I was talking to you, I think all of us we had Don on the show at the time too, Jim. You know, we were talking about the honey-do list, and yes, how many items are typically on a honey-do list. When you're meeting with someone, if you were at like something like a franchise show, and someone were to come up to your booth and say, "Oh, so what does House Doctors do?" How do you typically respond to them?
Well, what we do is provide a service to homeowners and property owners, and we work on that honey-do list, the to-do list, especially initially. Our franchisees work on the small jobs. Now, over the time that House Doctors has been going, the honey-do lists haven't shrunk; they've actually grown. So they're getting bigger and bigger, those lists, and the market's being fed by changing in demographics, the baby boomers, the aging population. All these things are feeding into the space that House Doctors franchisees operate in, and we provide a service that helps people with those lists, to-do lists, and fixes within their homes.
You're listening to Franchise Interviews, and today we are speaking with Jim Hunter, and Jim is the CEO of House Doctors, and known as the trusted home improvement service. House Doctors offers a myriad of services from drywall and gutter repair to kitchen and bathroom remodeling. One of the things, in doing all these interviews, Jim, is I noticed that, technology seems to just keep growing faster and faster. How does technology play a role with House Doctors today?
Yeah, absolutely. It's today's world, and our franchisees, when they started, we used to have years ago. We used to have the writing out work orders. We used to have them, calling back to the customer service person, and now It's all done using technology with iPads, with emails, with texting, and dealing with customers. The same thing: iPads, emails, texting. That's today's world, and it makes it all faster and quicker for us to service the customer, for us to schedule our technicians go out and do the work for them to produce estimates and work orders. It's all technology driven now with House Doctors, and our website and our presence on the internet generates leads from different areas that we never ever in the past had access to. So we have a real good brand presence that all driven by technology.
That's great. You wonder how they did it 25 years ago, right, Jim? It's like, how do we ever get along?
I agree.
It's crazy. It really is something. Yeah, another thing that impressed me is the size of this industry. I mean, this industry is huge, Jim, but even more so is as you said earlier, you kind of hinted why, but it seems like the industry just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Is that because people are just so busy today, and now you have different generations in the mix? Does that have a lot to do with the growth?
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it, grow leaps and bounds every year, and we're up to about 350 billion now. They reckon this industry, and it's all to do with the changing in demographics, the baby boomers, the aging population, the aging housing stock. It just continues, and even the younger people don't really have the know-how or the experience to do the type of work that the house doctors does, and it just seems to keep on growing. It's not a fad. It's not going away. It's going to be continual, and technology is actually giving us more tools to help service the market, but it's not really taking the market away either. Like some. Maybe some industries. So it's an exciting time for house doctors. It's an exciting time to see where we're going. The market's still fragmented, and the market's huge.
Right.
Remember, Marty, I come from a country of just over 5 million people. The U.S. is well over 300 million. So the size of the market here is huge for this type of business.
That's incredible. You probably have hundreds of stories, Jim, but one of the questions we like to ask our guests like yourself is what's been one of the most interesting things that's happened to you since being part of House Doctors? You've been with the organization a long time now, and to limit it to one single story would probably be difficult. But does anything stand out over the years? I mean that you kind of remember or just kind of really made an impression?
Yeah, I think one thing I've learned how to put up a shelf because I was never a handyman. My experience, as a project manager originally in telecommunications, I had a lot of knowledge how to put a project together and make it work. When I moved into I was a quick copy franchisee. I never ever knew how to print. My role was to manage the business, and as I then moved and became a member of the House Doctors team and eventually the CEO and the owner of the company, my role again is not to put the shelf up, but now I know how to put a shelf up. So some franchisees have taken me to the side and taught me how to do that. But I think. I think the great thing, I think, Marty, is the common thing is I've learned that in business, if it's all to do with a service that you're offering. The service I offer to the franchisees may be different from the service that they offer to their customers. However, if you're offering a service and you're reliable and trustworthy and you do a good job, then that's how you build a business, and whatever the service and strength that you have that you bring to the table, then that's how you build a business.
That's what people want, right, Jim? I mean, they just want someone who's reliable. I mean, I can't tell you how much, over the last decade, we've had things go wrong in our home, and sometimes you call someone, you go on Google and you call someone, and they take like 3 or 4 days to get back to you, and you say, my God, and so, I mean, it's great that, House Doctors provides this reliable service that's so important. I'm a lot like yourself, Jim. My dad, he was a businessman, so he never taught me how to do anything, so I am so reliable. I'm dependent on your type of service. It's kind of embarrassing. So I'd be one of those guys too who don't know how to put up a shelf, but I think that's fantastic. So you get to meet with, a lot of your new franchisees or prospective franchisees, Jim. When you're sitting down with them, are there any types of characteristics or traits that you look for or you even want in your franchisees? Yeah,
absolutely. We want people who are very personable. We want people who have a passion for home improvement, who maybe have an interest in it. Maybe they've done some work themselves, they've been involved in some sort of home improvement project, so they have an idea. But more than that, they have to be team builders because they're going to rely on their team to build the business, and they have to again be customer centric. They have to understand the importance of looking after people. We had one franchisee told me a story recently that a woman came on the phone and she said, I need somebody quickly, and she says, can you send somebody out? Do you do jacuzzis? And he says, yeah, we could fit the jacuzzi for you. I'll have a plumber come in and do some of the plumbing, but our guys will come in and do the jacuzzi. And she says, either fit it or remove it. It's been in the garage for over a year. And my husband bought it from Home Depot. I can't get my car in the garage. She says, fit it or remove it. But there's a need there, you see, and we service the need.
Oh my God! You probably have hundreds of those stories, don't you, Jim?
Yeah. Yes,
you can write a book on the topic, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
That's great. You're listening to Franchise Interviews, and today we are speaking with Jim Hunter, and Jim is the CEO of House Doctors, and known as the trusted home improvement service. House Doctors offers a myriad of services from drywall and gutter repair to kitchen and bathroom remodeling. Maybe we could talk a little bit about the training. Is the training still the same, Jim? I mean, do your new franchisees, once they decide to come on board, do they still come out to corporate headquarters? Is that how it works?
Yes, it's very similar. In today's world, the training doesn't go on to. When I think back when I was a franchisee, 3 weeks in Houston in Texas from Glasgow, which was a bit of a culture shock. We went to Houston in July, which was the humidity was like unreal to me anyway. So we don't have that long period now. So they come to the office for a week, but there's a lot of it done online, a lot of webinars. We have a go-to meetings and different things that we do with them now as we take them out into the field. And technology plays a big part of it today. So we've really got a pretty slick program now that really is fast and from generating leads right through to the invoicing and payments, and technology, as I say, drives a lot of that. So we can get franchisees up and running. Our first year numbers now are through the roof. We can have them doing some substantial revenues in their first year, and it's quite exciting, as I say, where we are and where we're going.
Yeah, the technology is exciting, Jim. If you think about, when you went to your training session, when you were a franchisee, you probably went there with like a notebook, you know what I mean, and taking notes and things like that. And today, everything is it's all on video. You get to watch these webinars, and you can watch them over and over again. You could do it on your own time, So I think it's such an exciting time in the world of franchising for someone like yourself. Maybe you could talk a little bit to our listeners, Jim, about what is a typical day like for a House Doctors franchisee? I'm sure every day is probably a little bit different, which is probably what makes it great, but I'm sure there's some similarities as well. So is there such thing as a typical day?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The franchisee will go in the morning, usually to the office. Now, again, in today's world, technology-wise, it doesn't need to be. They could be sitting in Starbucks, and they'll check the schedule. They'll talk to their customer service person and review yesterday's work and if there's any outstanding challenges or anything to be overcome or if everything was completed on time. So the customer service person does an end of day and then a meeting on the morning start of day as well. So they review the work, see what's scheduled for today. Does the franchisee need to visit any customers, visit with technicians, help in any jobs if that's where they feel good, or do they have to go to a networking meeting? They might go to a business networking type group meeting. They may go and see some property managers. They may go and see realtors. Anyone who has a property or involvement with a property can be a House Doctors customer. So their planning is from speaking with that customer service person in the morning to see what role they need to play that day. But there's a lot of variety. I had another funny story for you, Marty. Recently, one of one of the franchisees told me that he went into that meeting in the morning, or they called up the customer service person, and she says, "Oh, we have one job. It just needs finished off. If you could do that, because I've sent the technician off to another job, and a simple thing, go in and finish the job." So he goes to finish the job, but there was one thing about. She says, "Whatever you do, don't leave the door open, because there's a cat in the house, and the customer doesn't want the cat getting out of the house." So he goes to the job, finishes the job off, and he looks outside, and the cat is outside. So he goes out, he gets the cat. Yeah, he got it. Okay, he got the cat, put it back in the house, and then closed the door, and the job was finished and completed. He called the CSR. That's it. The job's completed. He looked in the window, and there was 2 cats.
Oh, that's great. That's what I mean, Jim. You could write a book on your experience at House Doctors. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good things happen. The franchisees relate to us, and also they're doing something good for a homeowner. There's a lot of job satisfaction with that.
Well, it's someone's biggest investment. I think we were talking about that a decade ago, Jim, right? I mean, it's really so important to people, and so I mean, the service that you're providing, I mean, it does make a difference in people's lives, So I think that's fantastic. From everything you've learned, because you've been doing this such a long time now, Jim, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise? You know that there's a lot out there today. So when someone decides that they want to buy a franchise, they're like, oh my God, there's like 2,500, 3,000 different choices out there. Which way do I go? And a lot of them are confused. From everything you've learned up to this point, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what I've learned is it's not necessarily just being excited about what the latest frozen yogurt is, or the latest home improvement company is, or burger. It's also about what would your role be in the franchise. I think that's important to identify at the beginning. So speaking with existing franchises, your question there about a day in the life of, that's a great way to put it, Marty. I think a day in the life of a franchisee is someone looking at a franchise has to find out what that is and feel comfortable then that they have the strengths and have the skills to work well and do well in something like that. And it might be it's not the frozen yogurt that they like, or the barbecue restaurant that they like, because their role wouldn't really suit them. And that's what they've got to identify at the front end, I think.
Yeah, I think that's so important. So, as a CEO, Jim, I mean, I can ask you, I mean, where do you see House Doctors? I mean, if you could look into that crystal ball, maybe 3 years, 5 years down the road, where do you see the organization?
Yeah, we're in a real good position just now. We have a lot of interest in our brand, and I see us going to 50, 100 units over the next few years. I mean, that would make us a real main player within this market. I see the industry franchises and bigger companies becoming stronger and being able to offer better and better opportunities to franchisees, and a lot of that, again, technology-driven, Marty, because I think as technology becomes stronger, it's difficult for the little independent mom-and-pop guy maybe to start something, and maybe he's good at home improvements, he's good at remodeling or something, but he's also got this technology monster in some cases, and that it's difficult for him to also manage that part, whereas bigger organizations, like we have people who look just at that, and then we know the programs and systems that we can put in place to help our franchisees. It's good to have that other side of the business handled for you, and that's why I think franchises will become stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I totally agree. So how can our listeners, Jim, get more information on House Doctors? I mean, as the service, of course, but even more specifically, the franchise opportunity. Are there any websites that you can kind of like direct them to?
Yeah, absolutely. We have, if they go direct first to housedoctors.com, we have links to franchise development pages. We also have links to franchisees, and they can talk to franchisees. There's all sorts of information if they go to housedoctors.com.
Easy enough. And it was great to talk to you again, Jim. I always love talking to you, and I'm going to invite you back. And I'm not going to wait 10 years this time because I always enjoy talking to you. It was great to have you on the show again. Yeah, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Are you looking for a franchise that delivers? Businesses will always need shipping, and for more than 25 years, loyal customers have depended on Unishippers for reliable savings and exceptional customer service. Unishippers is focused on just one thing: helping small and medium-sized businesses save time and money on all their shipping needs. And as the largest reseller of complete shipping services in the country, we have the buying power to ensure that we succeed. The Unishippers franchise offers low startup costs, no equipment or real estate required because they're not retail, residual income, and a quality of life and work-life balance. For more information on becoming a Unishippers franchisee, go to www.unishippers.com and click Franchise Opportunities, or call Franchise Development at 801-708-5822. That's 801-708-5822. Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 8 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting Franchise Interviews now over 5 years and almost 300 shows, and during that time, we've had some incredible quotes on the show. Today, we're actually going to go back to the most very basic elements of franchising. In fact, we're going to go back 5 years ago to our very first show we did with PB Loco, where Don and I get into the defining the word franchise. We use references like the great Dave Thomas. So I think you'll enjoy this edition.
You know, the criteria they filled out, what they'd be comfortable in. So.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think probably another good place to start, Don, is to, define the word franchise, because a lot of times when I ask my business students for the definition of a franchise, their response is typically the same. They'll say to me McDonald's or Subway or Quiznos. And, yesterday before the show, I looked up the word franchise in the Oxford Dictionary, and it defines a franchise as follows. It says, an authorization granted by a company to sell its goods or services in a particular way. And, that's a good definition, but it doesn't really help an aspiring entrepreneur understand what franchising really is. And I know you had a good definition we were speaking about from the book Franchising for Dummies, which I think is written by the great Dave Thomas, who's gone on to bigger and better things.
Right.
But I don't know if you have that.
CEO of Wendy's. Yeah, I do have that. It's a book written by him and Michael Seid of Michael H. Seid and Associates. I thought it was a really great definition. It's a little lengthy, but I think it really sums it up. The definition of what is a franchise.
Right.
And it basically says franchising is a system for expanding a business and distributing goods and services. And an opportunity to operate a business under a recognized brand name.
Good.
For example, Wendy's doesn't franchise hamburgers.
Right.
And Midas, the muffler franchise, they don't franchise car mufflers.
Right.
They franchise business systems that deliver hamburgers and mufflers to customers with consistency of the products and services and also the customer experience. It says a franchise occurs when a business, which is called the franchisor, the franchise corporate office is called the franchisor, they license its trade name, which is the brand, such as Wendy's or Midas, and its operating methods, which is a system or their system of doing business, to a person or group. The person investing in the franchise is called the franchisee.
Okay.
So I think that's important to bring out somebody's terms because,
absolutely,
the franchisee is going to be the owner of the franchise. The franchisor is the Wendy's or the Midas.
Right.
The franchisee, by buying into the franchise system, they agree to operate according to the terms of the contract. That's called the franchise agreement.
Okay.
The franchisor provides the franchisee with support and in some cases exercises some control over the way the franchisee operates under the brand.
Okay.
So that's what we mean before about the pros and cons. You're in business for yourself. You have a much higher chance of success, but you're under the
But you're not by yourself, as you say.
Right.
Your franchising is, being in business for yourself, but not by yourself. One of the words that you said in that definition, Don, which, by the way, I think is probably the best definition I've seen, since being involved in franchising, is the most important word is system. And what do we mean by system is kind of like a method of doing things, so you get the same result every single time. And the analogy that I typically give, Don, is that, the franchisor is the teacher and the franchisee is the student. And it's very important that the student, who's the franchisee, trust as well as listen to the teacher, or who in this case is the franchisor. And they also must be willing to totally follow the system and not try to reinvent the wheel. Otherwise,
it's already a proven system and
absolutely.
concept. That's why they're buying into it and paying a franchise fee, paying royalties. It's already a
exactly.
successful, proven system. That's why they're investing in a franchise, much lower failure rate. But you're right. The keyword system is very important here because someone doesn't have to go into and set up all this marketing and all these different things involved with starting up a business on their own. It's already been done. It's already done for you. You just have to follow the system, and if you do that, you're going to be successful in most cases.
Absolutely, and I think that's what can make it difficult for some entrepreneurs, Don, is because, some people are so entrepreneurial that they don't have the ability to follow a system. It's kind of like the example I give is, you buy a McDonald's franchise and you say, you know what, I think that this cheeseburger is going to taste better with 4 pickles and a little more mustard, and you just start trying to reinvent all these different things. It's not necessary with franchising. You have to be willing to totally follow that system. Otherwise, it's not for you, and that's why franchising isn't for everyone. And that's, franchisors certainly don't want somebody coming into their system and trying to reinvent things. You don't have to do that.
Right. It's a good point. I speak to franchisors all the time who necessarily don't want to recruit or find an investor who's had a background in their industry to invest in them because
absolutely.
They might want to do things their way if things start off a little slow. They want people coming in fresh who can be trained, learn their system, and do things exactly what's been successful with their other franchise owners. So
I agree. I agree. Another example I give, Don, is I ask, I call it the entrepreneurial scale, where I would ask somebody, I'd say, how entrepreneurial are you on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being low and 10 being the highest. And if somebody said to me that they're a 9 or a 10, I think I would push that person away from franchising, because again, these are typically people who are just so entrepreneurial that, their mind is always going and they just want to reinvent things over and over. And, so those people should not go into franchising, So It's very interesting points,
Yeah, and just one last part to finish up the definition of what is a franchise. I mentioned it before, but for people not really familiar with the franchise concept, it says for all this service the franchisor will give, it says in exchange the franchisee usually pays the franchise or an initial fee called a franchise fee,
right,
and then a continuing ongoing fee. I mentioned a word before, that's called a royalty. Usually could range in the 2 to 5% range. It includes advertising and everything, but the franchisee will pay a royalty. And that's basically for the use of the trade name and all the operating methods and system that we're talking about. So I think that's a great definition of the word franchise. It really just sums it all up in just a few paragraphs.
Absolutely.
And as the weeks go on, we're going to be using these words a lot.
Absolutely.
Franchisee, franchisor. So that's why we think it's important to kind of just throw these terms out in the first show just to
I agree.
people understand it.
I agree. We have, some of those definitions actually posted on our show page for World Talk Radio too, Don. But
So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.